Tabletopia is a website that lets you play board games online for free. So whether you're social distancing, have no one to play with in person, or you just want to protect your precious board games from catching coronavirus, this is the answer. The trouble is, there are 838 games to play on Tabletopia, and a lot of them aren't worth your time. That's saying something given that time is all we have right now. I've been through all the games, I've checked which ones worked, and I've found 10 really good ones that you can play for free without a premium account. I've actually reviewed most of these games before in their analog form, so if you want to find out more about them, I've put links to my old videos in the description. And if you were clever enough to prepare for this apocalypse by having 2 children 16 years ago, and now find yourself in isolation with a table full of willing gamers, well, these games are even better if you play them in real life. For those of us who don't, I've included Tabletopia links to all the games. They're providing a great service to us for free, so if you're getting lots of entertainment from it, consider upgrading to a premium membership which will unlock expansions and a bunch more great games. I'll mention a few of them at the end of this video. In On the Underground, you're competing to build the best London Underground tube lines on this map of London. The best lines are the ones that people actually use, so you're trying to connect this passenger to the destinations they want to go to. They travel at the end of each turn, and if they use your line, you get a point. The passenger's lazy and wants to do as little walking as possible, until the government tells them they can't go outside, then they become a marathon runner. The passenger will use your line over another if it saves them from walking. It's a fun puzzle trying to work out how to attract them each time, whilst creating lines that will be used again and again throughout the game to keep giving you points. There's limited space to build, so everyone's rushing to claim the central parts of the board before other players, and connect from west to east or north to south. You can block players off, stopping their lines going further, but it's also possible to branch off and go in another direction. The rules are simple to grasp, and it's a really easy game to play in Tabletopia because you just drag and drop your train lines onto the board each turn. It's a thinky strategy game that plays from 2 to 5 players in about 2 hours. And it's nostalgic for anyone missing the warm hug of the tube carriage each morning. ARGH is a simple bluffing game that gets straight to the point of, can you lie to your friends? I mean, how do you tell them you're too busy to listen to their podcast now? There are 2 ways to win the game. You can get an instant win if you manage to collect 2 bomb cards, of which there are 3 in the game. If no one wins that way, the game ends when one of the decks runs out, and it comes down to how many points everyone has. On your turn, you take a card, look at it, and you can do one of 2 things. You can put it face down in front of you, adding it to your collection. So if it's good, you might choose to keep it. But if a card is face down, another player can choose to steal it on their turn, keeping it face up. So if you're being clever, you could put a bad card in front of you face down, goading another player to take it, so that they're stuck with it. Your other option is to offer the card you've taken to another player. You can tell them what it is, or lie, or say nothing. They then decide whether to take it or send it back to you face up. So they're trying to work out if you want the card or not. The way the cards mesh with each other is really clever. There are spy cards which will lose you the game, unless you get 2 which cancel each other out. So there are times you'll take a card that you want and they don't. I love bluffing games, and ARGH is one of the best. Make sure you play with everyone in a video chat for the full experience. This one's fun from 2 to 4 players. It lasts about 10 minutes and you'll play it again and again. If you love cockroach poker, this is a great step up from that. Roleplayer is an engrossing puzzle of a game to sink your teeth into. The idea is you're building a fantasy character, your board represents their abilities, and you're trying to get the right dice in the right places to give them the best traits you can. Every round you'll take a die and add it to your board. This card shows you the total number you're aiming for on each row once you add up the dice. If you can get 18 points in this row, 3 6s, then you'll score 4 points. Color is important too. This card will give you points if you get certain colors in certain spots by the end of the game. The dice come out at random from a bag and you take it in turns to pick one. The options are limited, but that's where the game gets interesting because you can manipulate the dice on your board to rearrange them and change their values. Each time you place a die in a row, you can use that row's special action. If you place in strength, you can flip a die over, turning a 1 into a 6. If you place in dexterity, you can swap 2 dice on your board. So you can place a die somewhere you don't want it, just to use the action, then move it to its final home later. It goes beyond the dice. Each round you can also buy cards from the market to score you more points or help you change your dice. The player who took the weakest die that round gets to buy first, so there's a reward for not being greedy. The puzzle of Roleplayer is addictive with so many moving parts to consider. It's easy to get lost in your own board, so it's not the most social of games. But if you want to put your brain to the test, this is a great option for 1 to 4 players in 90 minutes. Paperback is a word game that has you creating words with letter cards. It's like if Scrabble and Dominion had a baby together, and that baby disowned Scrabble because it didn't like its obsession with obscure 2-letter words. You each have a deck of letter cards that starts off small. On your turn, you draw 5 cards from your deck and create the best word you can from them. The longer the word and the tougher the letters you use, the more coins you'll get to buy new cards, which you then add to your deck. So in future rounds, you'll be making words with higher scoring letters and using them to buy something even better. As your deck of letters grows, each time you draw 5, you'll have a different set of letters to reckon with. They won't always gel into a great word, so be careful not to buy too many Ks or Qs that will cause you problems. But some of your cards can be played as wild letters, acting like blanks in Scrabble. What I prefer about Paperback over Scrabble is that it rewards longer, more impressive words, and it feels really satisfying when you pull one off. Even though you only start by drawing 5 cards, some have 2 letters on them, and some will allow you to draw more from your deck. Some cards have special powers that give you more to think about, so even if you haven't got the best vocabulary, you can still stay competitive by being strategic with the cards you buy. I usually like to play Paperback with only 2 players because it can slow down as other players think of their words. But you can be thinking of your words in your hand whilst everyone else is taking their turns. And once you're hooked, there's also a really good app version of it on Android and iOS, so you can keep playing on the toilet when you've gone back to work and forgotten all your hygiene rules. Santorini is an abstract game which puts it in the same vein as chess. You're moving pieces, trying to put yourself in a winning position. Thankfully, unlike chess, you don't have to be an old man in a park to play it. You play as Greek gods, which as far as anyone on a video chat knows, you might be, building the island of Santorini. You each control 2 pawns, and on your turn you can move one of them 1 space in any direction. Then you must build something in an adjacent space, either starting a new building or adding a story to an existing one. As the island grows, you're trying to put yourself in a position where you can move your pawn to the 3rd level of a building. That's how you win the game. But as you create those opportunities for yourself, you mustn't hand the victory to your opponent by letting them move onto it. If they get themselves in a winning position, you can stop them by adding a 4th level. Trying to create a winning position where your opponent can't block you is tough. And therein lies the game. What I love about Santorini is that it can never be mastered because each game has its own dynamic. You each play with a god card that gives you a special power, which changes how you play or win the game. Artemis can move 2 spaces per turn, and Demeter can build 2 buildings per turn. Each one completely changes how you need to look at the game, and part of the fun is in staying aware of how the goalposts have moved. Santorini is a fascinating game that you can learn in minutes and play in 20. It's best as a head-to-head 2-player game, but you can play with 3 if you like. And if you squint hard enough, you can pretend you're on holiday in Greece while you play it, instead of whatever miserable country you're stuck in. In Cartographers, you're creating maps by adding regions of forest, farmland, rivers, and villages to your board. Your queen has certain demands on how to arrange the lands, and I'd listen to her because if you don't, she'll set her corgis on you. For example, she absolutely hates it when farmlands touch rivers. For each farmland and river that meet her drunken demands, you'll get 3 points. Each turn you'll flip a card which tells you the type of regions you can put on your map and the awkward Tetris shape they come in. You can put it wherever you want, and that freedom is daunting. How will each positioning affect your 4 goals? Everyone creates their map at the same time, which keeps the game fast and interesting. The Queen's demands force you to focus on different things each round. In the first round you'll be worried more about forests, farmlands and rivers because only they will score. But you know what demands are coming up for future rounds, so you can still plan your map around them, scoring them later. There's a few obstacles to keep you on your toes, such as these monster cards which are placed on your map by an opponent. Monsters get in the way and lose you points if you don't surround them on all sides. Cartographers is a really satisfying puzzle to get lost in. There's a natural desire to keep wanting to improve on what you've created, drawing you back to the game to redeem your mistakes. It's perfect if you want something chilled and non-confrontational for 2 to 4 players in 45 minutes. Playing it's made me want to pick up a hard copy of the game, before board games are outlawed for the vicious disease spreaders we all know them to be. Secret Hitler is a hidden traitor game which has you trying to deceive your friends, or work out which ones are lying to you. It requires a larger group from 5 to 8 players, So you have to play this one online, unless you want to go down in history as a super spreader. There are two factions, liberals and fascists. The fascists are the bad guys who are trying to sabotage from within, without being so bad that they lose their power. Topical. The fascists know who their teammates are, but the liberals are in the dark and don't know who to trust. One player is Secret Hitler. They know they're a fascist, and the other fascists know them, but Hitler doesn't know who else is on their team. Each round, the group will vote on two players who they trust to be the president and chancellor. Each team will want their faction's members in power to swing things in their favour. The elected president will secretly draw 3 policy cards. They can either be liberal policies or fascist policies. From those 3, they choose 2 to give to the chancellor, who looks at them in secret and picks one to enact and reveals it. Which policy they reveal will take that team closer to winning the game. If they play a fascist policy, it makes them look bad, but the other players don't know whether they even had a choice to go liberal. The game is brilliant at making players look suspicious. It's all about your discussions as you try to work out who is who, make accusations, and try to proclaim your innocence. Only so much can be learnt from a player's actions. It's just as important to follow what they're saying, how they're saying it, and the filthy look on their face. You absolutely have to play this game in a video chat. As a fascist, you'll be sweating as you try to go unnoticed, and as a liberal, you're having to follow your hunch and work out who's lying to you. It's intense and exciting, and often with a big ending as you find out who betrayed you. It will get heated, and it's not an experience for everyone, but if you want a raucous time with a big group of friends, this is a surefire way to make you feel a lot less isolated. In Railroad Inc., you have to build the best transport network. You each have your own board and are placing roads and railway tiles onto it, trying to connect them up to exits on the side of your map. Everyone plays at the same time by rolling the 4 dice and taking the matching pathways. You're all given the same options throughout the game, but with each decision you make, your board will diverge from your opponent's, for better or, in your case, worse. You can place the pathways wherever you want, but your ultimate goal is to create an infrastructure that's as interconnected as possible. No one wants to live in a neighbourhood that isn't accessible by road. Until recently. You'll start the game with good intentions, building towards a dream of maximum points, but the dice are moody and unpredictable and will not give you the tiles you need to finish your masterpiece. Each round you have to find a new way to compromise your vision when you don't get what you need. Like cooking with the only 3 ingredients you found at the supermarket. I really enjoy the way it puts you at the mercy of the dice gods. It's a masochistic form of entertainment. And if that doesn't make you want to play it, well then other adjectives might work instead. Railroad Inc. is the perfect puzzle game. You can play it in just 30 minutes for 2 to 6 players. In K2, you're racing to climb to the top of the mountain whilst trying to stay alive. You each have 2 climbers, and every round you'll play 3 cards to move them up the mountain. Timing your movement is crucial. If you race ahead with your good cards to get to the freezing peak, will you have enough strength to get down in time before you succumb to the cold? On top of that, the weather can really damage your climber's health if they get caught in a snowstorm. The weather forecast helps you carefully plan your ascent to go at the right time, but you can't account for the other climbers, as this game is set in the golden age of civilization before social distancing, so they will get in your way and could block your path. Each climber has a tent they can pitch to protect themselves from the cold, and you have vital acclimatization cards in your deck which you'll be hoping come up when you need them. No matter how careful you are, the game always makes you feel like you're just clinging on, and the temptation of pushing on, risking death to reach the peak is what makes this game so fun. K2 does such a great job of capturing the feeling of leaving the house, or for risk takers of yore, climbing a mountain. I've never played a game where someone didn't have a climber die. It's a modern classic of a board game for 2 to 5 players that takes about 90 minutes. In Stockpile, you're trying to make the most money by playing the stock market. Except you're not playing fair, you're all insider traders taking advantage of privileged information to buy and sell at the right times. This obviously would never happen in real life, but say for example, a politician found out information about a national crisis before the public that would lead to a stock market crash and then sold all their shares. There are 6 industries to invest in and their current share values are tracked on the board. Each round you'll be given secret information about one of them, whether it will go up or down in value. So you know that American automotive is about to be worth a lot more because Taylor Swift just TikToked from her Tesla. Now is the time to buy more of it. You can get more shares by bidding on these stockpiles, which are sets of shares created by the players. Every move that another player makes could be a clue. Why are they bidding so much on Epic Electric? Is it about to increase in value? And when it comes to selling shares, it's probably worth following another player's lead and getting out now before it bankrupts and you lose it all. Stockpile is all about trying to get a bargain and riding the wave of the market. It's so much fun gambling on a cheap industry and then seeing it skyrocket. And the secret insider info adds an exciting air of mystery to all that has you watching everyone like a hawk. This is one of my favorite board games of all time, so just stop Netflix for 90 minutes and try it. It costs you nothing. Those are the 10 best board games you can play on Tabletopia for free, but if you have a premium account, there are some other games I'd highly recommend, and you can check out my review videos on them for a bit more info. Dark Moon is a more involved hidden traitor game that works with a smaller group than Secret Hitler and takes the gameplay even further. Burgle Bros is an amazing cooperative game where you're on a heist together, trying to break into safes and avoid being caught by the security guards. And Champions of Midgard is a strategy game in which you control a Viking tribe which you build up and send out on boats to kill monsters. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please hit the like button and let me know in the comments, and I might make more videos like this. I'm Jon Purkis, thanks for watching.